the J&J, if you don't mind. Let me go on the first three questions. Let me go in reverse order. What won't we spend the money on? I think it's too early to answer that, Daniel, because we don't have federal guidance. So we need the federal guidance first. That's really the most important piece of this. And we're going to spend it, I hope, both prudently, but for what the money's intended to do, which is impact in one form or another, direct or indirect, from the pandemic. So I would come back to you in terms of what I wouldn't do it on. We need to know what we can first, and then that'll help create that answer. Yeah, I think on the fiscal cliff, that's a question since literally I had my hand on the Bible since day one. There's always this discussion, well, it's not just this year's budget, it's what's it going to look like the year after. And I think that's probably a rightful narrative based on the way things used to be done in this state, which is plug in a lot of holes with Band-Aids and barely make it to June 30th at midnight, and then have to wake up the next day on July 1st and figure out, okay, what other rabbits can we pull out of our hat? And I think that question is out of a habit of that awful behavior. What are the one-shots that you can track down? Look at the settlement of the tobacco litigation and what we did with that, which basically was to fill up budget holes. And so I don't have a particular comment on fiscal 23. I think there's a lot of unanimity around the fact that we probably, we don't have a lot of appetite, trust me, to tax a lot more stuff. We still have a workforce, not necessarily say this is a point of pride, our workforce today is smaller than it was when I had my hand on the Bible. So we're already running the state. I think, efficiently, I think we can be more efficient on that. Jared will, and Judy and Pat will echo the fact that department heads were asked for a lot of cuts, some of which we took, and a lot of which we said, you know what, it feels like that's cutting too close to the bone and cutting services. So we want to be responsible about this. We do not want to blow it all like drunken sailors and then have to wake up in any year, fiscal 23 or otherwise, and say, oh my God, now what do we do? That's just not who we are. And that's not who we're going to become. We also, by the way, God forbid, need to grow the economy, and it turns out we are. The pandemic, I think, has accelerated, believe it or not, some of that because of people coming into New Jersey that probably may not have come in at least as soon in their lives. But we need to grow. We need to grow the economy, and that's another habit from the old days. We accepted the fact that we were not growing, that our revenues were stale, and that you had a sort of fixed box that you had to fit everything into. Well, the reality is there's no reason why we can't grow at a significant clip in the years ahead, and that's the best thing we can do to give us flexibility on continuing to provide services, provide property tax relief, et cetera, et cetera. I'll get to your first question now, I think, if I've gotten in reverse order. I think we sold the bonds on November 18th, if I'm not mistaken. So what was the world like? And by the way, we got approval to sell the bonds many months before. So what was the world like then? I just want to remind everybody of that. Donald Trump claimed that he had won the election and was going to litigate that, literally and figuratively, right up until inauguration date. We had two runoffs in Georgia that were not taking place until January 5th, and you had an avowed leader in the Republican caucus, Mitch McConnell, saying there was no way there would be any state and local aid. I noticed somebody yesterday said to say that we overreacted or something was the epic understatement of the year. Okay, so let me just reiterate a couple of other data points that I think are important to note. I mentioned as part of your earlier question, we still, as I sit here, don't have federal guidance on how we can spend the federal money. Tell that we overstated the impact of the pandemic to any of the 2 million people who lost their jobs, several hundred thousands of whom have lost more than one job in the past 13 months. Tell that we overreacted to a small business owner, 30% of which have failed, or a restaurant owner, or a working mom trying to make both ends meet as it relates to childcare, or families that are in arrears on utilities, rent, mortgage payments. This thing had epic consequences. I haven't heard so much Monday morning quarterbacking since Howard Cosell retired. With all due respect, we did what we thought we had to do, and we'll continue to do just that every single day we come to work.